Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Vance Walker, the $1 million winner of American Ninja Warrior. And this is not a rerun. Vance, you won again. First
Yes.
two-time champion and winner of the million. Talk about that time that you found out that you were the champion again. Oh, maybe a little less tears than the first time around.
Yeah, the first one was definitely a little more meaningful just because it was my first time ever getting to stage four, my first time ever conquering stage four, and that was the thing that I had been working for my entire career. So doing it again was awesome, but it could never be as emotional as the first time, but it was still awesome. And it was absolutely terrifying going third, and I had two people run after me with Caleb getting up the rope. And I assumed that since last season he didn't get up the rope, that he wouldn't that time either. And so when I did hit the buzzer, I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I won. So I didn't really keep track of what my time was. And then after Caleb went, I saw that he had a couple seconds left, and I turned to the crowd and I'm like, did I just lose? Like, I didn't know whose time was faster. And we actually didn't know until they announced it at the top. I didn't know either. So a lot of the crowd was thinking, did he just beat Vance? And we were all like, everyone was confused and didn't know what had just happened. So until Matt Nakbar announced that his time was a second slower, I didn't know that I even won it yet. So
How long did that actually take? So you don't have a clock like next to the rope that everyone is
they
watching.
have there's the clock on the actual tower, but everyone was just paying attention to if somebody would get it in the first place instead of what our actual times were. So it was a little bit different than if it was like showing everybody's times on a screen and seeing what everybody's times were compared to each other.
Well, it's pretty incredible because I mean, we've seen the greatest ninjas go out even on stage one because it just takes
Yeah.
one little misstep. So how are you able to stay so consistent and make it through all of these stages now back to back? It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a great question. That's the hardest part about the sport is if you fall once, you're most likely out unless you have a safety pass, unless you've earned something that gets you another shot. If you fall once, it's over and you have to clear every single stage to end up winning $1 million. So it's very difficult and it is really hard to stay consistent. I've been lucky enough to have really good training partners, really good gyms to train at, but actually season 14, I didn't hit a single buzzer and that was the year before I won. And that was right after my home gym was shut down. I moved all the way to Houston to train for that season. And that year I didn't have that consistency. I fell three times into the water and didn't hit a single buzzer. So the consistency is definitely the hardest part. And I moved down to Florida, started training with Caleb. So we were actually training partners for season 15 and 16. So it was awesome to be able to do that together. But yeah, the consistency is the hardest part. And I think just training those specific courses, those specific obstacles, and setting up the closest replicas you possibly can, and even random stuff that you've never seen before, just to prepare for any possibility.
And you were actually cleaner this year than last year in many ways because last year you actually ended up losing around and then making it by time.
Mhm.
So that had to be a little gratifying. Is I mean, it was just clean buzzer after buzzer this season.
Yeah, I definitely wanted that perfect season. And season 15, I fell on my first race on stage two. Me and Ethan both got to the last obstacle. And we knew at that point that we were both guaranteed if we didn't win to get the runoff race. And I was pretty sure that one of us was still going to win that one if we got there. So we both tried to send the link, both ended up missing it, and he just got there a little bit faster. So it was nice to get back and actually get the clear on the first run that time.
The only thing you haven't that you didn't get this season was the mega wall. So you still have something to shoot
Yes.
for at least.
Yeah, I got the Mega Wall back in season 13, but that's the only thing that I haven't done twice now. I've gotten first in qualifiers twice. I've gotten first in semis twice. I won junior twice. I got the Power Tower twice. I've won the $1 million twice, but I can't get that Mega Wall again. So,
Well, you lost 20,000, but you got a million, so I think it
yeah,
all
we'll
works
take it.
out. How much time do you get between stage three and Mount Midoriyama? Because stage three looks so physically exhausting on the
Mhm.
upper body, and then to have to go straight into the 75-foot rope climb, that seems difficult. So what is the
Yeah.
time you get?
Yeah, it depends on the season. So back in season 15, the schedule, it films over 3 days. So the schedule was stage one on the first day, stage two on the second day, and then three and four the next day. And between then, I ran second on stage three. So I probably had about 2, 3 hours between.
Okay.
And then season 16, it was stage one, then two and three, then four in the women's championship. So I had the whole entire night's rest going into that one. But it definitely depends on the season. It depends on how many people make it through too, because since there were 8 people on season 15, they had to get it over with as fast as they could. So it definitely depends on the season. But even with overnight rest, with it being in Vegas, with the lack of sleep, because we finish and leave set after sunrise. and we have to be down bicep before, like way before we actually start filming. So we're probably getting 3 hours of sleep. So it's not even recovery time if it's the next day.
What obstacle do you fear the most? Or what, like when something's in front of you, what's the most dangerous?
I think for me, the obstacle I fear the most is the jumping spider, and that's what took me out in season 14, sadly. That kept me from having the 3 feet. But yeah, I think that's definitely the hardest for me just because my hips are not flexible with the CP. I am always, no matter how much I stretch, gonna be a little inconsistent at that obstacle, which you could see because I fell on it before. But that's definitely my least favorite. I think this season, excluding that, was definitely the pizza party. That being in stage three with that technical of an obstacle was absolutely terrifying.
Well, one of the highlights for me this season was your race with Flip Rodriguez because, Flip's
Yes.
he's one of my favorites. I go way back to the beginning of the show. So watching that and I'm sure you watched him as a kid. What was it like to race him in that moment?
It was really fun. It was terrifying because I've seen him on the show since I started watching back in season 7. And he's always been insanely fast, but also he had only cleared stage 2 once going into that race. And I'm also a little bit inconsistent at stage 2. The year before, I fell on my first race trying to link, and on my first season, season 13, I had to use the safety pass. So I'm also a little bit inconsistent at stage 2, so I know that we both could clear, and I know that we could both do it quickly. And luckily, we both ended up clearing. But it came down to a matter of speed, and I had to go faster than him to get it. So it was definitely scary, but it was really fun at the same time.
Do you like the racing or do you prefer to like stage three or sort of at your own pace? You just know
Mhm.
you have to finish. What's your preference?
I definitely love stage 3. That's always been my best stage. I sadly fell on it in season 13, which shouldn't have happened, but that's always been my favorite stage. Stage 3 is always the thing that I've loved the most. I actually used to love the old semifinals format the most too. That would be something that I would train basically every single day with those super long and just intense endurance courses. That's always been my favorite, and I've always been the best at the pump endurance and the long courses rather than the speed. But I can be fast if I have to. But I definitely love those longer courses.
So what's changed the most for you over the last year? Because I understand you made the move to Florida. So who are you
Yes.
surrounding yourself with? Who are you training with? And how what does that look like on like a daily or yearly basis?
Yeah, so I'm training with the Bergstroms, with Enzo Di Ferrari Wilson, Electric Enzo, with the Cake Ninja, with RJ too. He's in Jacksonville now, but he still comes down every once in a while to train. So I'm with the whole entire Florida squad, and it's an amazing training group. Like you see last year, me, Naxa, Caleb, and RJ, half of the people on stage 4 out of the 8, were from that Florida training squad. This year, 3 out of 5 because it was still me, Caleb, and Naxa out of the 5 of us. So you can see that group is absolutely stacked, and those are the people I'm surrounding myself with. You have to surround yourself with people that want to achieve that success if you also want to achieve that success. So it's been a really cool group to train with.
And I'm sure winning the prize money frees you up a little bit to be able to train.
Yeah.
Um, what did you do with the first million? And what are you going to do with the second million? Did you mentioned a Rolls Royce? Are you getting a Rolls Royce or a house?
See, that's the thing is I said that before I learned about taxes and the IRS. So I'll definitely be holding off for now. Maybe one day. That is my eventual dream car. But I did get a very dumbed down version of that. Rolls Royce is owned by BMW, and I got a nice BMW 4 Series convertible. So I wanted the Rolls Royce Dawn, which is their convertible. I got a much, much cheaper version of that. So that's what I'm rocking with for right now. But I put most of that into investments, and I'm going to do the same thing with this check. So,
We've seen a lot of Olympians join American Ninja Warrior, former Olympians, which I
mhm.
think really is a credit to like how much skill it takes to do this sport. And they
Yeah.
also have like all failed mostly. So I mean, it
Yeah.
just shows how difficult it is, and it's a very specific sport. What would you think about this becoming an Olympic sport? I mean, we have skateboarding, we have breaking, so why not ninja?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome, and I would love to be in the Olympics one day. It depends on what they actually choose to put in the Olympics, because there's so many different challenges, whether it's the courses themselves, like the Mount Midoriyama format with the 4 stages, or they could do the racing, or they could even do specific obstacles like the Super Salmon Ladder. That would easily be able to be its own event in the Olympics, and I would love to be a part of that. So it definitely depends on which thing they decide to put in. But yeah, I think any ninja in the Olympics at all would be amazing, and I definitely want to be a part of that.
Well, we have seen USA versus the world, and it is a worldwide sport. How many
Yeah.
competitions do you compete in every year? Because we all see this big TV show, but what is your regular life like? Like your day-to-day schedule in terms of competitions and actually competing?
Yeah, so since I won, I've definitely dialed it back a little bit, and I've still been traveling a lot, but it's been a lot less for competitions and more vacation and just meeting up with friends, training with friends, and going to other people's gyms just to train rather than to compete. But a couple years ago, I was going, me and my mom were going like basically every other weekend. Like I think we went 12 out of 15 weekends during the competition season once to different competitions over the country. We went to Ohio, we went to Connecticut. They're mostly on the East Coast, but I even went to California and San Francisco for some comps. And it's just traveling all over the place. I've dialed it back a little bit, but in the actual training season, it can get like basically every single weekend you're in a different state.
And you've been a great advocate and role model for anyone living with cerebral palsy. How is that going on that front? Are you able to get out to events and how has that impacted your life and having this platform now?
Yeah, so we're about to start filming season 17, and I'm actually teaming up with Michelle Warnke, and we're making some shirts that we're going to pass out this season and be wearing them on season 17 of the show, and we're going to focus my story for season 17 really on cerebral palsy early awareness and just making sure that people just get their kids checked on as early as possible because early intervention can make a huge difference. I luckily back when I got diagnosed, it was 17 months, and the limit back then was you had to be 18 months to even get tested for these things. But my mom was like, "No, we can tell something's wrong," and I got it even a month before that. And just as early as you can catch it, that can make it so much better because it's the damage is already done. It's neurological damage, but you can keep it from getting worse. You can keep the muscles from getting tighter. So I can never be more flexible, and I can never do more than I can right now. But the braces are to keep it from getting worse, and the stretching is to keep it from getting even tighter. So I definitely think I want to do a lot with early adoption. And also we're going to start selling those shirts and all the proceeds are going to go to, I haven't decided exactly which charity yet, but we're going to be trying to raise some money for one of the CP charities soon.
Well, Vance, congratulations on the repeat. We'll look forward
Thank
to
you.
season 17. Maybe we'll see a three-peats, but
Yeah.
you've already made history, so congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.